How do humans adapt to different work cultures across the world? The answer varies dramatically depending on where one lives and the societal values that shape professional expectations. In today's globalized economy, understanding these differences can provide valuable insights into what truly matters in the balance between productivity and well-being. Before we get into it, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates from our channel. The exploration of work-life relationships around the world reveals fascinating contrasts that might make viewers reconsider their own professional priorities. So stay with us until the end to discover which system might actually align better with your personal values. When examining how different societies approach work, it becomes evident that humans have developed remarkably varied systems to address the same fundamental questions about professional life. Approximately 1/3 of a person's existence will be dedicated to work over their lifetime, making this relationship particularly significant. Nations develop distinct answers to how this substantial portion of life should be structured. The United States has fostered a particular approach that heavily influences its citizens' perspectives. Many individuals who have left America did so partially because the relationship to work felt unbalanced and unhealthy. The constant pressure to hustle, the suffocating atmosphere of competition, and the exhausting work hard, play hard mentality all contribute to the excesses visible in American society. Those who fail to adapt to these demands risk being left behind. This contrasts sharply with European approaches to professional life. The continent generally demonstrates less of the rise and grind mentality where work follows people everywhere. However, after spending significant time in Europe, many observers note that American attitudes leave lasting impressions that are difficult to shed completely. Americans often perceive certain aspects fundamentally differently than their European counterparts of similar ages. The contrasts can be striking. In Paris, for example, a doorman in his 30s once disappeared from work due to medical issues with his elbows. With a doctor's note, he stopped appearing for an entire year while continuing to receive payment before eventually returning to his position. Such circumstances would be virtually unthinkable in the American system. Americans typically remain reachable for work-related matters throughout the day, whereas European countries have enacted legislation specifically preventing management from requiring employees to answer outside work hours. Each system offers benefits, but neither comes without trade-offs. When comparing these regions, some clarifications are necessary. Referring to the United States as America serves practical purposes, though this terminology understandably frustrates Canadians and Latin Americans. Additionally, Europeans often resist being grouped together, as citizens identify primarily with their specific nationality rather than as Europeans. However, various systems intentionally connect these nations: the Eurozone, Schengen Area, European Union, and European Free Trade Association. These structures were designed to foster cooperation among European nations and prevent conflict. Despite individual countries occasionally being excluded from specific agreements, these nations generally function as collaborative partners. For comparative purposes, it's worth noting that the gross domestic product was roughly equivalent between the United States and European Union about 10 years ago, though America has pulled ahead in recent years. Upon first arriving in Europe, many Americans experience relief discovering societies organized with more emphasis on well-being. Education and healthcare are considerably more affordable without bankruptcy risks, while better sick leave and parental leave policies exist. Critics might point to faster GDP growth and lower unemployment in America, but these metrics don't necessarily translate to better quality of life. American salaries may be higher, but employers demand more, employment security is minimal, and living costs are elevated, particularly for healthy food options. The contrast appears stark when observing unemployment benefits. Europeans might receive up to 2 years of benefits covering 60 to 70% of their former salary, amounts inconceivable in the American system. Combined with walkable cities and excellent public transit, the European lifestyle initially seems ideal. While certain observations may apply less to Eastern Europe, even countries like Poland offer more affordable education and social services than the United States. The picturesque charm of European cities from Bucharest to Madrid to Ljubljana creates an appealing aesthetic environment that contrasts with American settings. Gradually, however, observers recognize that Europe's advantages come with corresponding drawbacks. Trade-offs are inevitable, as no system offers everything. Efficiency represents a significant difference between the regions. Europe often struggles with bureaucratic complications that make the recent American complaints about red tape seem minor by comparison. Though not applicable to all European nations, many face severe administrative challenges. Nordic countries have established more efficient, digitized systems, but elsewhere, regulations and paperwork requirements can be cumbersome, sometimes requiring physical mail submissions rather than digital options. The convenience and efficiency that Americans take for granted becomes apparent only after experiencing European alternatives. Simple tasks like opening bank accounts, obtaining driver's licenses, or starting businesses proceed more smoothly in the United States. European business schedules accommodate extended vacations, particularly during August, requiring careful planning around these periods. The uniformity that facilitates American efficiency, identical strip malls from coast to coast, contrast with Europe's charming but maintenance-intensive historic architecture. No country matches America's business-friendly environment. While not necessarily the most affordable place for commerce, it remains among the easiest. The ability to quickly execute ideas without constant obstacles holds genuine appeal, especially for entrepreneurial personalities. Europe sometimes discourages significant risk-taking, treating individualism as problematic rather than advantageous. The spectrum between unrestricted acceleration and cautious restraint reveals different priorities. America emphasizes convenience and efficiency, with same-day shipping and brief lunch breaks. Europe prioritizes regulations and consumer protections, implementing stronger data privacy laws and food standards. American food policies permit practices that would horrify Europeans. French school cafeterias serve gourmet meals compared to American options. Beyond regulations, cultural attitudes differ significantly. The American concept of consumer supremacy finds little traction in Europe. Freedom itself carries different meanings across the Atlantic. Americans associate freedom with ability, owning guns, scheduling prompt appointments, or working extended hours to potentially improve their circumstances. The French interpretation centers on liberation from obligation, not working unnecessarily, as excess work diminishes quality of life. This manifests in French employees anxiously ushering customers out before closing time, consistent with France's 35-hour workweek established in 2000. Similar priorities appear elsewhere in Europe. In the Netherlands, a bike rental shop owner had already returned home to his family just 3 minutes after closing time. Europeans generally maintain clearer boundaries between professional and personal life, prioritizing family and community over extended work hours. This approach represents a different type of freedom than the individualistic American model. Europeans excel at utilizing vacation time, particularly during summer months, though this creates unpredictability regarding business operations. Perhaps these inconveniences represent the necessary cost of systems that better support their populations. Entrepreneurs face different challenges in Europe. Employee benefits like unemployment compensation and severance packages don't apply to business owners, who must exercise extreme caution when hiring because of the potential consequences if relationships deteriorate. European companies must provide reasonable accommodation periods of 3 to 6 months when terminating employment, making immediate dismissal impossible except in cases of criminal activity against the employer. This significantly increases the cost of business failure in Europe compared to America, as companies may remain obligated to honor employee contracts for years even after bankruptcy. This arrangement suppresses risk appetite and entrepreneurial innovation. Interestingly, the obligation works both ways. Employees often cannot resign immediately and may need to continue working for months before departure, especially after long tenures. This concept seems foreign to Americans, who might view continued employment at an unwanted workplace as resembling servitude. American employment law operates under at-will principles, allowing employers to dismiss employees for any legal reason without notice. This explains the infamous American firing culture. The system permits rapid transitions from employment and housing to potential homelessness. However, American employers face fewer procedural requirements, and the traditional 2-week notice period remains optional rather than legally mandated. Americans defend this system by emphasizing the constant availability of opportunities, as evidenced by consistently lower unemployment rates than Europe. Whether this represents genuine freedom or merely its illusion remains debatable, particularly considering that many Americans live paycheck to paycheck with minimal financial security. Recent mass layoffs implemented through impersonal emails after years of service appear borderline cruel, but represent common American practices, especially in technology sectors. Generally, Europeans accept dedicating smaller portions of their lives to work. Americans who love their professions and willingly invest significant time may feel out of place in European settings. For some, work provides meaning and direction, making extended vacations seem appealing. Whether this perspective stems from upbringing or personal inclination remains unclear, but such attitudes appear more normalized in America. This comparison reveals a spectrum with security on one end and risk on the other. European regulations, sick leave provisions, and unemployment benefits prevent catastrophic financial consequences when life presents unexpected challenges. The American system emphasizes possibility, more opportunities, and potential advancement, though these benefits primarily accrue to the already wealthy, creating extreme disparities between affluence and poverty. Living in America involves inherent risk, conditioning citizens to adapt accordingly. American parents typically teach self-reliance rather than dependence on government assistance. Instead of counting on Social Security, Americans focus on saving, investing, and building financial reserves. This explains the prevalence of side hustles, either demonstrating entrepreneurial spirit or revealing disturbing commercialization of every aspect of life, depending on perspective. While individual Americans face greater personal risk, American companies and startups encounter fewer obstacles. This arrangement better supports technological development, explaining America's more advanced technology sector. Counterintuitively, America's riskier, more politically conservative system promotes risk-taking behavior, leading to greater innovation and change. Europe's progressive social safety nets produce a culture of business conservatism, with companies less willing to take significant risks. The American approach has generated remarkable innovation. This content appears on an American platform, possibly viewed on an American-manufactured device. European employment protections enable quiet quitting, as termination requires extreme circumstances. This potentially degrades workplace morale when remaining team members must compensate for underperformance. Americans might counter that their system produces burnout among unprotected workers, still requiring others to assume additional responsibilities. The infamous cases of Amazon workers urinating in bottles due to insufficient break time seem implausible in European contexts. Each system penalizes different behaviors, excessive risk-taking in Europe and insufficient risk-taking in America. Neither system can be definitively judged superior, though individuals typically develop preferences based on personal circumstances and values. Those departing America often retain advantageous skills applicable worldwide. Some degree of hustle provides benefits, and Americans generally support and encourage entrepreneurial efforts rather than obstructing them. Regardless of location, finding meaningful work remains challenging. Entrepreneurship offers one solution, potentially explaining why those from business-friendly environments express appreciation for that aspect of their upbringing. There's much more to explore regarding these contrasts, but this represents just the first installment in an ongoing series comparing American and European approaches to various aspects of life. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Your experiences might help someone else make the right decision.